Fashion is an ever-changing, growing entity that has a keystone role in American society. Through world wars and depressions, fashion has taken on revolutionary hardships and transformed itself, resonating identity, lifestyle, and the times we live in. Following the end of World War I, the USA entered a time of prosperity and optimism. Social customs and morals relaxed, new music and dance flooded the country, and women gained the right to vote. Fashion reflected such exciting changes. By 1926, the image of the flapper was established fully. It symbolized rebellion and modernity, as women exposed skin, wore makeup, and smoked cigarettes. In 1929, the stock market crashed in what's famously known as Black Friday, signaling the onset of the Great Depression. The public utilized the movies as an escape, and Hollywood became the new glamorous outlet for fashion. With World War II underway in the 40s, clothing became more functional and more military-like with square shoulders. Because resources were scarce, uniforms were common since they were mass-produced. The shirtwaist dress, an all-purpose garment, also emerged as a classic during the 1930s. As World War II ended, Christian Dior changed the norm of fashion by crafting the new look, a style characterized by an extravagant fitted jacket and a full-length skirt. Such a voluminous look was permitted at the end of World War II, and women longed to dress femininely and frivolously again. Synthetic fabrics such as nylon and polyester became more widespread, as they were more affordable. For the first time, teenagers had clout in the fashion realm as a result of influences such as music and film. High fashion started its decline. The 1960s was a decade of great change, something that also mirrored in the fashion of the time. Blue jeans became a staple in this time period. People really acquired more freedom of choice as manufacturers diversified, and women developed their own sense of style and individualism. Fads include go-go boots, shift dresses, and metallic and neon colors. Mod fashion, with its quintessential miniskirt, came out of the youth subculture in Great Britain and moved to the United States with the British musical invasion. Opposite this trendy subculture were the greasers, who rebelled by focusing on leather or denim for a clean-cut style. A hippie counterculture arose with florals and tie-dyes, peasant blouses, maxi dresses, flower in girls' hair, and sandals. Student activists, tired of slow change, grew restless and organized large demonstrations, some of which got very violent. Clothes began to fit slimmer lines as a result of the rise of the iconic, stick-thin models such as Twiggy. Unfortunately, many people believe this change in fashion and the emphasis on extreme thinness and new style of clothing contributed to an increase of body image issues and eating disorders. During the 1970s, fashion became increasingly global with influences from many ethnicities from traveling. Additionally, the disco dance was extremely widespread. Many wore shiny polyester clothing that shimmered under the lights of a disco ball. Not only did the shimmery clothes represent how popular disco dance was, but it also symbolized the openness and social transformation of the decade. Women strongly fought for equal treatment, making them more active in the society. Fashion trends include bell-bottoms, floral dresses, thick headbands, and high-cut boots. Fashion in the 80s was a melting pot of personal, outrageous styles. Women used fashion to display their power with expensive business suits. Other trends were flamboyant and audacious as bright leggings and leg warmers became popular. The 80s was a decade known for its materialism and consumerism. The symbol of this time was the yuppie, a baby boomer with a college education, a well-paying job, and expensive taste. Although written off as superficial, TV shows depicted yuppies as a generation of young adults who were successful but unconfident and anxious, unsure of their happiness. Later, with the conception of MTV, fashion and music came together seamlessly. Madonna's televised music videos inspired punk fashion characterized by leather, bold neon colors, big hair, and heavy makeup. Punk styles that were prevalent in the 1980s transformed into grunge during the 90s. People wore ripped and distressed denim in the spirit of alternative music that was popular during the time period. Since hip-hop was also popular in the 90s, people wore baggy pants. Overall, the main deciding factor for people's fashion choices was comfort. Whether it was in the office or out in the streets, relaxed, loose-fitting clothing was a must. Although many wore comfortable, laid-back clothing in the 90s, others wore more revealing and scandalous clothing such as high-rise skirts, low-rise pants, and belly shirts. Overall, the 90s was a time period when women had their own styles, wearing clothes of their personal tastes.
Well, I graduated from high school in 1986. So it was sort of the height of the Madonna years. So people had the big mole hair and curls, gloves, big earrings, the flash dance look. It was very 80s.
Since I am a child of the 80s and 90s, fashion was bright, big, and since I love alliteration, beautiful.
The decade in which I grew up, in which you will probably guess what decade that was, the bell-bottom jeans were going out of style. But I was mainly in the decade where you had super huge shoulder pads and for women, and everything was very flowery and this type of thing.
My favorite fashion decade is right now because I'm old enough that I don't really care anymore. So I can wear jeans and t-shirts, which is normally what I wear on the weekends, unless I just stay in my pajamas all weekend. And I've done that before. I've gone out to Starbucks in my pajama bottoms, and I'm okay with that. So this is definitely my favorite fashion.
Probably the 50s. I think they had the most classical styles that you can actually still wear today and get away with it. Chanel and other designers like that really had a handle on classic fashion.
I think for me personally, I always say that I should have been an adult woman in like the 40s or 50s because I love, I guess, fun, flirty, feminine kind of attire.
I think that if we could bring back the 50s with the rolled up jeans and the leather jackets, and everybody could grease their hair back and wear white t-shirts and pink jackets, it would be fabulous with the little white keds and the little capris and the cute little shirts and bows in our hair. It'd be fabulous.
Big hair, which I do on a daily basis. I try and bring it back. I love big hair. I think big hair is phenomenal. Everyone should have big hair. I also, and this actually is coming back, I can't believe it when I walk in the stores, but overalls.
I think it would be to have women dress up. I think there was a lot more opportunities to dress up, and I think there were a lot more designs with dresses, jewelry, and all that kind of stuff. And I think they've really gotten away from that. Everything is a lot more casual.
I don't think it does as much anymore. I think as we grow up, we realize that we are our own people, our own person, and we don't have to impress other people. I think if you wear a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, that's one thing. I think what fashion does the most, and what I love about today's fashion trends, is that whatever size you are, whatever shape you are, what you wear reveals how you feel about yourself. And when you dress up at night and you want to put on something that's a little more trendy, you can, but you can also wear jeans to a ball.
I think it's a great way for people to express who they are. So if your identity is loud and boisterous, as Dr. Williams is, then you can express that identity through hammer pants.
To me, fashion is about how you present yourself and how you feel about yourself. And if you're okay with wearing pajamas to Starbucks, you're okay with who you are.
Yes, I used to have my own business a number of decades ago now, where I would actually design clients' wedding dresses, or I started this when I was in Washington, D.C., so I would design inaugural ball gowns and all sorts of other things. And there was the whole gamut of the design and then actually creating the pattern for the particular individual, figuring out the fabric, how that fabric would lay. Actually designing the pattern that would create the design. So there's actually a lot of mathematics involved in that, and a lot of geometry and those kind of ideas involved in that, which I thought was kind of fun being the mathematical person that I am, and very much need the ability to be able to see in 3D so that you can really see what this whole thing looks like and how to create your vision for your design. I used to spend a lot more time with fashion, but because of the day and age we live in, I found that I'm a lot more casual as everyone else is. It used to be a much bigger deal in the past, and today everything is just casual, is the way everything is going. So,
Well, my parents are both in fashion, so it means it meant my livelihood. It no longer means my livelihood. So growing up, I was surrounded by fashion. My dad is in the women's shoe business, and my mom, who she later quit and was a stay-at-home mom and raised me and my sister, but her whole identity was surrounded in the fact that she had made a life for herself and had risen in the ranks in the fashion industry. So I guess fashion is kind of a way of life for me, even though I may not appear that fashionable today. It's always been something that I've enjoyed looking into and following, and using to represent who I feel like I am.
absolutely. I think art in general and fashion and media and all those type of things can define a time and a period in history.
I do. I think that, for example, today, I think that because people just see so many images of skimpy, scantalizing clothing, I think that people are okay with that, and that's a reflection of the times. But I think you can even go back to the 60s and the 70s when things were supposed to be less promiscuous, and you can see tight skirts and low-cut shirts and men with inappropriate clothing on. So I do think it's a reflection of the time, but I don't think that's necessarily bad.
Yes, because throughout history, I think women's apparel especially, I would say women's fashion reflects history and society's values. As women have become more equal in society and have gained more equality and status, and the fashion has changed tremendously from women having to wear high neck dresses with girdles to we now can wear pretty much whatever we want. I still think there's a way to go, but I definitely think that it reflects society's values.
For me, as a person who wants to major in fashion design in college, I do see people sort of stigmatizing fashion design as something that's sort of like worthless or something that's superficial and like it's dumb. I know I'm sort of embarrassed to tell people I want to major in fashion design because they'll think, wow, you're dumb or you're stupid. Like that's it's not like a STEM field. It's not like I'm going to medicine or law. It's like fashion design. When I design clothing, it's representative of an idea. It's not so much, clothing isn't merely just like cloth put on a person. It's like once you wear a dress or a garment, it becomes that's like a representation of you, and that becomes like an extension of yourself. Fashion is an art form. It's sort of becoming like sculptural almost. With haute couture, you can see a lot of more emphasis on shape and a lot more emphasis on form of the thing rather than functionality, because now we have all the materials and all the things we need to create like structural works of art rather than something that's meant purely for practical reasons. It's so much more than just designing clothes. It's like you're designing sort of the landscape of how girls or how people think about themselves when they're wearing clothing. You're sort of shaping the future confidence and like the personalities almost of people, and it does so much more than just change how you look. It changes how you feel and how you present yourself to others.
We think a lot of people judge fashion for what they see on the surface, a somewhat superficial way of perpetuating age-old beauty ideals, or even worse, a waste of time and money. But taking time to see past the surface of fashion, you'll see that it's an art, a documentation of history, and a unique form of self-expression. As Anna Wintour, chief editor of Vogue, eloquently puts it, fashion can be two things. It can be as simple as something you put on to make yourself feel beautiful, or as dynamic as something illustrative of culture, time, and its transformations. We think it's safe to say that as far as fashion goes, there's much more than meets the eye.